Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Wednesday, June 3rd. Impact map quite a bit each of the next 3 days. For today on the left side, we do expect to see isolated thunderstorms becoming drier as you head across portions of central Utah. We have a concern here as well as far eastern central Nevada out by Ely. There'll be wetter storms further up towards Idaho and Wyoming. Also increasing winds, a belt of winds increasing across northwestern Nevada and right along the Nevada-Idaho border into northwest Utah. The southern half of this fuels are still critically dry. The northern half of this wind belt fuels are marginally dry to moist depending on where exactly you are locally. It would be a mix of wet and dry storms again across parts of central Utah on Thursday, and then a bigger weather system, more of a springtime storm moves in, pulling in some deeper moisture and wetting rains across eastern Utah. Maybe a mix of wet and dry storms across Nevada, and sandwiched in between a strong belt of winds in areas that are not quite getting precipitation, and in those areas we'll have concerns again for any ignitions going a little bigger than expected. Lightning map, just a few isolated strikes here on the right hand side in our northern areas, and also a few down here in the south in southeastern Utah. Precipitation was very scant. Even this is an overestimate, so most of any strikes were on the drier side across Utah, a little wetter up in Idaho. New fire starts in the red, and there was some in the vicinity of that lightning down in southeast Utah, so activity's picking up. Recent fires in the yellow. Observe precipitation over the past week and see how dry it's been across the southern or half of the Great Basin, especially across Nevada to the Arizona Strip. Over the 2-week period, again, you can see where we've had wetness, quite a bit of it, and that has slowed fire activity, and where this first shade of blue to white, we've had either nothing or just some very light trace amounts or just below wetting rain criteria, and that's where our fire activity has been most active. ERCs, you can see them starting to increase now, especially across eastern Utah, many areas in the 80th to near 90th percentile. Starting to see some yellows now into parts of southeastern Idaho and across much of Nevada. The 10-hour fuels have been driving a lot of our recent fires in the grass and lower elevations, and these areas in red indicate where they are below 5%, 3 to 4% on the 10-hour fuels. So ignitions here, if your fuel is primarily cured grass, things will definitely burn. Live fuel moisture reports coming in here across parts of eastern Utah. You can see that we are below normal on the live fuel moisture, but still not critical, not down below the 120 level. Ironically, off the Sierra front down into the western side of the Great Basin, there are some sporadic reports of extremely low live fuel moistures. That's we'll have to watch as we get more observations in time. On the satellite imagery, a deep low pressure area off the southern California coast, off the Baja coast, starting to pull in moisture across parts of southern Nevada. I'll have to watch this. This is what could be our lightning maker this afternoon as it moves towards Ely in eastern Nevada and eventually into central Utah. Up here off the Gulf of Alaska is a deep storm system, which will be our main weather maker by Friday and the weekend. So for today, on the right-hand side, you see we have high risk for lightning from the Spring Mountains in southern Nevada through the Ely area and towards the Fish Lake area in south central Utah. And here is that moisture that surge. It's currently near Vegas, pushing northwards in time during peak areas of instability, and the low levels are still quite dry. We can see those trace amounts here on the right-hand side. These little strips you see here are traces of very light precipitation that will most likely be associated with some lightning. On the left-hand side, you can see our strongest winds in areas where fuels are marginally critical across the northern third of Nevada. Gustier winds also up in the Snake River Plain and into parts of Wyoming. Now on Thursday, there's still a few blips through here. We could still see some lightning through here. This low starting to gather strength. You can see how dry a lot of our PSAs here are in the south. And the winds start increasing both across parts of northern Nevada into parts of southern Nevada and southwest Utah as well. And again, these little blips through here indicate where lightning is a possibility with very light rainfall amounts, not a wetting rain. There'll be some movement to those storms, so we'll have to watch for the possibility of some ignitions, some of these very dry fuels. Now on Friday, on the left-hand side, you can see the storm system starts gathering a lot of moisture suddenly, But in between, there's sandwiched in some winds and drier air. So you can see we have a concern for high risk for wind across right along the Nevada-Utah border. Also in northwestern Nevada, although humidity will be increasing in time over there. Other areas will start to see increasing rainfall. So you see more green here where things are brown. You see this area in green through here. And on this model, which goes out a little bit further, this shows some of the measurable precipitation, maybe a couple hundredths, maybe a tenth of an inch, and some pockets maybe a quarter of an inch. On the left-hand side, we do see significant winds, areas in the purple, gusts of over 40 or 45 miles per hour. They'll have to be watched. 3-day precipitation totals from Wednesday morning through Saturday morning. A lot of this here across eastern Utah will fall Friday afternoon into Friday night. And amounts here basically a tenth to a quarter of an inch. So basically the whole eastern half of Utah gets a wetting rain, albeit low-end wetting rain except for some localized heavier amounts, but that should dampen things a little bit. On Saturday, deep low pressure through here, but the moisture starts shifting out, and we'll have to watch some of this drier air punching in, which will start drying things out, but still pretty moist from the recent rainfall in northwestern Nevada and eastern Utah, as well as areas further north. But we do have a concern for wind here on Sunday because a drier punch of air with very strong upper level winds will be pushing in from Vegas, the Arizona Strip, into southern areas of Utah. Areas further north, still the humidity will be higher. And then on Monday, still a concern with some of the winds through there, but coolness across a good portion of the Great Basin under the influence of this trough of low pressure, and still kind of on the influence of this low pressure trough as it starts to move out on Tuesday. Still dry across our extreme south. You can see that reflected on the 7-day colors here. 7-day precipitation totals eventually could be quite heavy across the Uinta Mountains and parts of eastern Idaho and the higher terrain of Wyoming. Lesser amounts as yet further south, bone dry still in our far southern areas. 8 to 14-day outlook. You can see temperatures returning to near normal, a little above normal across the western portion of the Great Basin, a little cooler than normal to the east, and near normal in the middle. Below normal precipitation, so that's the key point. We start drying things out. This is June 10th through the June 16th time period. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.